We have all been sold this comfortable, sanitized lie about relationships, that the opposite of love is hate. People nod along to it, framing screaming matches, slamming doors, and broken plates as the ultimate proof that the flame is still burning. There is this lazy cultural assumption that as long as two people are fighting, clawing at each other, and demanding to be heard, they still care. We treat anger like a barometer for investment. If they're shouting, they are staying. If they're screaming, they are trying to fix it. We look at a couple tearing each other apart in the kitchen and whisper to ourselves that at least there is passion, at least there is a pulse, at least there is a battle worth fighting. But that is not just a lie. It is a dangerous delusion designed to keep people comfortable in burning houses. The most terrifying sound in a dying relationship isn't a slammed door or a shattering vase. It is nothing. It is the absolute, suffocating silence of someone who has looked at the wreckage of what you built together, weighed the energy it would take to fix it, and decided it simply isn't worth the breath. Think about the last time you actually cared enough to blow up. Think about the veins bulging in your neck, the heat rising in your chest, the desperate, frantic need to make the other person understand your point of view. You were exhausted, yes, but underneath that exhaustion was a stubborn hope. You were fighting because deep down, you still believed that if you just found the right combination of words, if you just pushed hard enough, they would wake up and meet you halfway. Anger is an investment. It takes fuel, it takes oxygen, it takes a belief in the future. When you argue, you are essentially slamming your fists on the table and demanding that the world pay attention to your pain. You're saying, I am still here, I am still broken by this, and I refuse to let it go unnoticed. It is loud, messy, and desperate, but it is fundamentally an act of faith. It is a pathetic, beautiful belief that the person across from you still has the capacity to care about your wounds. And then, the shift happens. It doesn't happen with a cinematic explosion or a grand, dramatic declaration on a rainy night. It happens on a Tuesday evening, over cold takeout, or in a car parked silently in a dimly lit driveway. You open your mouth to point out the exact same habit, the exact same broken promise, the exact same selfish disregard that usually triggers a 3-hour war. The words rise to your tongue, sharp and practiced, ready to launch the familiar offensive. But right before they cross your lips, a sudden, heavy wave of utter exhaustion crashes over you. It isn't just being tired from a long day at work. It is a profound, bone-deep fatigue that starts at the base of your skull and spreads through your entire nervous system. You look at them scrolling mindlessly on their phone, completely oblivious to the storm you were about to unleash, and you suddenly realize something devastating. Explaining it to them would take more energy than just letting it go. And more importantly, you realize that even if you won the argument, even if they apologized and promised to change for the 10th time, you wouldn't even care anymore. The desire to be understood by them has completely evaporated, replaced by a cold, hollow vacuum. That is the exact moment the relationship actually dies, long before the boxes are packed or the lease is signed. The moment you stop arguing isn't a sign of maturity, peace, or emotional growth, no matter how much you try to gaslight yourself into believing you have finally become the Zen partner. It is the psychological equivalent of pulling the plug on life support. You stop correcting them when they lie. You stop checking their location. You stop asking where they were, who they were with, or why they looked at their screen with that guilty little smile. When they forget an anniversary, you don't even feel the sting of disappointment. You just feel a dull confirmation of your lowest expectations. They can criticize you, mock you, or completely ignore your presence, and instead of the familiar flash of rage, you feel nothing. Absolutely nothing. Your chest stays completely still. Your heart rate doesn't spike. You just blink, look away, and go back to what you were doing. That complete, terrifying apathy is the ultimate withdrawal of emotional capital. You have stopped investing your heart into a bankrupt enterprise. Most people don't know how to handle the stage, so they mistake it for a breakthrough. They look at the sudden, unnatural peace in the house and think, finally, we stopped fighting. We are finally getting along. They congratulate themselves on the absence of conflict, completely blind to the fact that the absence of conflict is not harmony, it is abandonment. When a person stops fighting with you, it means they have mentally checked out of the building. They have already packed their bags in their head, walked out the front door, and locked it behind them. They are just physically occupying the space for logistical reasons, waiting for the lease to end, waiting for the right time, or simply gathering the last shreds of courage to execute the final exit. Every nod they give you, every polite okay they mutter, every dinner they eat across from you in silence is just a polite fiction. They're practicing living without you while still standing right in front of you. So when someone tells you, we never even fight anymore, things are so peaceful, lean in closer and look at the hollows under their eyes. Look at the way they refuse to make eye contact when the room gets quiet. That isn't peace. That is a ghost haunting its own life. The scariest people in the world are not the ones screaming at the top of their lungs in the middle of a grocery store aisle. The scariest people are the ones who look at you with dead, glazed eyes, nod quietly, and hand you back your world without a single complaint. Because when a human being no longer cares enough to fight you, they have already stopped loving you. They have already packed their bags and walked away. They just forgot to tell your body that you're standing alone in an empty room. When they stop screaming at you, they have already stopped loving you.